Hello everybody. And I was trying to think of ideas for videos because I ended up having most of this week off of work because of equipment issues, bad weather, and a dentist appointment. So I was thinking of ideas. If I get this thing to focus, that would be super awesome. I was thinking of ideas I could try to come up with a video, something new, different I haven't done before. And I thought I'd do a full tour. We'll talk a little bit, I'll show all the fish and everything, and the shrimp. But the main focus of this tour is going to be a talk about the equipment that I run in all my fish tanks. We got 27 tanks running. The smallest of all my tanks are 20 gallons, and I have 15 20-gallon tanks. Those are the smallest tanks, and we'll talk about that. But first, you should go check out my website, markshellyaquatics.com. You can see all the stuff I've got to offer for sale, and go check it out. So, first thing we'll talk about are all my tanks are planted tanks, and that means every tank has a light. So, and the most important thing is to have timers on your lights so you can dial it down like too much light. Like the pond, it has my guppy pond, it has brighter lights, and if I keep it on the same amount of time as everything else, then it turns into an algae fest. So the pond lights are on way less. So I think my lights kick on, everything kicks on at 4:30 in the afternoon. We got so many tanks in the house that, other than like the kitchen and the bathroom, that don't have tanks. That is our lights. We'll still have lights on if you're trying to do something, but other than that, usually the only lights on in the house are the fish tank lights. The kids have the living room lights on and stuff too in the bedrooms, but so that's why I can do my lights like that. They kick on at 4:30 in the afternoon, and most of them stay on until 1:30, but the pond shuts off at 11:30. So what we'll talk about here is, let's talk about these 5 tanks here, because they all have the exact same setups, other than the bottom 2 have heaters. And what I've found is if I heat the bottom 2, heat rises, and then these tanks, while not as warm, they end up being warm enough. So like the bottom tanks will be like 78, I believe, and they all run off, all my heaters run off temperature controllers. So yeah, these are set at 79. Right now it's 78.3. And my heaters I use, when you have the heater controllers, you don't have to get the super expensive premium heaters. I just get the cheap Aquilon glass heaters, and they do good enough. So that this temperature controller runs this tank and this tank. So the bottom one's probably a little bit cooler, so I have that and the temp probe in there. So this tank here is probably a little bit warmer. The second tank up, it's probably a little bit warmer. And so then we have the light situation. Start off getting all Aquaneat lights, and those lights are awesome for the price. But when I first started off these tanks, this whole room was ran off air. That air pump exactly, AP100. But with all the splashing and the noise, I mean, this is in my house, so I converted everything over to pumps and power heads. keeps down on the, I did go to air, I did add some air stones, and I got my breeder boxes. I have a AP40 running for all those air needs, but my main filtration is done with pumps and power heads, and these are all DIY sponges, ATI size sponges, and they're the coarse reticulated ones are pretty expensive, so I'm kind of phasing them in, phasing out the fine ones for the reticulated ones when I can, but when they're like $8-9 just for the sponge. And that is a 3/4 inch PVC pipe. There's holes drilled into it in the cap, and the bricks are there to hold it all in place. And that's a power head. You can see it shoots off to the side a little bit, but most of it I have the little spouts taken off on these tanks. It's a 250 gallon per hour power head, but most time it's, I'd say they're really about 150 gallons because they're just cheap Aquaneat 250 gallon per hour power heads. And so that's the same kind of filtration on all these 20 longs. They all have the same setup on them all. And I was talking, I got sidetracked. I was talking about these lights. I started off with the Aquaneat lights. When I was doing air, the Aquaneat lights do not like getting splashed. If they get splashed, they're toast. So, what you do when they get splashed, they die. So then I tried these, and you can see that shows up. Barina T5 integrated fixture. They're 4-foot lights, so they gotta go in there cockeyed because this is only a 2.5-foot tank. But you can get. Last time I got them, I looked and the price had gone up a little bit, but not that much. I think I was getting 6 for around $41, and I was looking to see how much they are now, and I saw a 6-pack for like 43 or 44. Oh, and that's all on Amazon. It's Amazon Prime and all that, the Amazon app. So, and then you come over here to the other side, and all these 20 longs have the exact same setup. Same lights, same DIY filter, everything. The bottom 2 tanks have heaters, and this is the temp controller that runs those heaters. And so that is how those go. So the next thing to talk about are these 40-gallon breeders. There are 8 of them, and they, well, I should see, 1, 2, 3 of them have 2 of those Barina T5 integrated fixtures, and then the rest have the Aquaneats. So these Aquaneat lights, they're not super expensive, but they're more expensive than the Barinas. And usually when an Aquaneat light goes out, if I'm broke, then I usually have a stash of these Barinas, but I'm completely out right now. So whenever an Aquaneat light would get up to ghost, I'd replace it with one of these. And these are the kind of lights, they just piggyback to each other, so that makes them convenient. Yeah, there's a dog. She has a diaper on because she is not fixed and she is bleeding. Right, Ava? It's a pain in the butt, ain't it? It's a pain in the butt. But all these either have the Aquaneats or the Barina T5s, integrated LED fixtures or whatever they are exactly called. And on these, except for one, the filters are the same. They are double stacked ATI size 5 sponges with the exact same power head that's in the 40 or in the 20 gallons. So 250 gallon prior power heads, and most of these 40 gallons are dedicated mainly to shrimp. All of them have at least one Pleco, but there's another one. There's a couple of them that have more, but mainly they're dedicated. They either have young grow out Plecos, and so it's not needed. This one has the Aquaneat Light, the double stacked, a fine and a coarse sponge with the power head on there, and you can see the nice float creates. On the 40 gallons, I leave the spout on there. Look how many eggs that one shrimp's got. She's loaded down. Same in the Blue Dream tank. The Blue Dream tank, this, I'm going to have to dose some out or some hydrogen peroxide in this tank because we've had a little bit of some algae problems. So we have to. This tank needs another. Last time I kind of didn't do a full thorough job on cleaning up the moss mess, so this tank is the next one, needs big moss clean out. But all these, they all are the same, other than the lights. Let's see, what should, oh, heaters. This tank has no heater at all because it's just a shrimp tank. When I got these fancy Plecos in this tank, I got Super Red Calico Albino Plecos. I was like, yeah, I probably should get a heater because in the winter time this tank can get down, and the tanks on the floor in here can get in the mid to low 60s. And so I got a heater with a temp controller, and that's this other one right here, and it's running right now, set at 75, current temp 74. And so I was like, well, heck, if I got a heater in here for these expensive Plecos I just got, I'll go ahead and throw some guppies in here too. So this is my Grow Out Colony Full Red. Some duckweed problems in a few of these tanks. And I've added some air stones, which is new. I don't think I've talked about that at all or even told anyone about it. So in all the tanks except for the top two, because for whatever reason I never noticed any problems, but I was noticing some dead spots and a few little issues in these other tanks, and I thought a little bit of air would help, and it has. So these top two tanks don't have air, and I've never noticed any problems with them. But I've got air stone back behind there, air stone there, air stone back there, air stone there, air stone down there. So I got some air, making use of my AP40. I need to do a proper air system, but it has 18 valve manifold, and I have all these old air lines strung everywhere from when everything ran off of air. But now the only thing running on air is the air stones in the breeder boxes. So air's not that big of a deal. I just, because when I was using it on the filters, the sponge filters, I had way too much air and it's splashing everywhere, causing humidity issues. And so that's why, and the noise. I mean, this is in my house. I mean, this is literally in my family room. So that is an important aspect of it. But this one is the one that's different. This has 2 coarse ATI size 5 sponges and a 400 gallon per hour pump that comes up. All this is DIY, going up to the spray bar. And that spray bar is just capped off. That little hook there at the end is just for it to hang on. And I didn't cut it exactly the perfect height, so there's a folded up piece of paper to make it a little bit higher. I think I need to make it even a little higher, but it's at the point where it's good enough. So, and eventually, especially, let's see, you got trying to breed plecos in this tank, trying to breed plecos in this tank, and trying to breed plecos in this tank now. So eventually, that is all going to need a similar long, thin green dragon chilling in a cave. That'd be awesome if I get those guys breeding. Bloody Mary shrimp. Looking real good. Okay, so that is the closet. I should add these tanks, these top 4 tanks. They do have heaters, but they have old Aqueon Pro heaters, and they're only set at like 71 degrees, and they're just intended for the winter. And I don't ever, every once in a while I'll see them come on this Pleco tank, but not too often. The ones up here, I mean, let's see, this is roughly 73 degrees probably with no heater. This one is, I think it's a little bit cooler. That one's probably about 70, 71. But that's alright. I think some of them might be set at 72, some might be set at 70. I don't really remember. But just to keep it steady. That's all that's for. Just to keep it steady. So we don't have crazy temp fluctuations, and it can get pretty cold back here. I mean, I've got a pretty good, I added a space heater and a fan back, not right in this room, but it helps a lot because this is the very back of the house and it doesn't get the best airflow out of the registers from the gas furnace. So those are reasons why we have heat and air circulation and stuff like that, to try to get it going, get everything at a nice steady temperature. And next, everything on my pond, watch out Zoe, everything on my pond is DIY. So that is it's so overgrown right now, but it looks pretty awesome. There's hundreds and hundreds of guppies in here. This is my guppy pond. And there's actually a 5-gallon bucket in there. And then there are 3 size 5 reticulated ATI sponge filters with the PVC, with holes drilled into the PVC, and the water comes in through those sponges and down into a 1,000-gallon per hour pump. And I don't know if it's showing it, but there's spillways on that side and a spillway on that side. And so, yeah, you're getting about roughly 500 gallons per hour. Look at all the little, I don't know if it's going to show up. There's just clouds of fry. When I let this Ludwigia grow real big, all the way up to the surface, I get so many fry. I'm going to have guppies coming out my ears this summer. Yes. It looks so good. Look how red that gets right there underneath that bright light. Now talk about the lights. So this is a 50 watt LE power spotlight, work light, whatever. This is a 150 watt. I did have another 50 watt over there, but it has quit working and I have not replaced it. And then I also have those Barina lights. I have one there and I got one back there to help with the impatiens, as you can see, and those are growing out the top of my filter, sucking up all those nitrates that the hundreds and hundreds of guppies, and there might be 100 plecos in here too. So it's pretty crazy in here. Look at this guppy, oh my goodness. Let's see. I know I've talked about that guppy before, but the video never does them justice. When you sit here and look at them from the top. Some of these guys got really cool top views. It's interesting. So this guppy pond is completely, everything about it is DIY. This little canopy thing here is what I built when I first started it. But it is, there's actually a light fixture in there, and I used to have like the curly Q screw-in bulbs, like the 59 watt grow lights. I had like 4 of them in there, and that wasn't nearly enough light. I couldn't get much to grow with 4 of them on there. So then that's what this is what it's evolved into over the last 4 years. Pretty happy with it. It's doing good. Alright, and then that mostly does it for all the DIY stuff. These tanks, excuse the low water levels, but we have been very, very, very cold. And the heater, the furnace is running, and my extra space heater, electric heater that I got has been running extra hard. And the ceiling fans are going, and you get a lot more evaporation than normal here these last few weeks. So we're still 2 days away from water changes, and look how low the water's evaporated. But these tanks ran for years, and with the AquaClear, I think they're AquaClear 30s, and then this one bit the dust. So that is an Aqueon 30, I believe, on this tank. And these are still the original AquaClears in these tanks. And I do have one of these 4-foot Aquaneats, which what sucks is I can't even find the 4-foot Aquaneats anymore. The longest I can find are 3-foot ones, so that sucks. But one of these gave up the ghost, and these are both originals, 4 years old. One's still working, the other one quit working about a month ago. Everything seems to be doing alright. They're just moss and anubias in these tanks anyway. So there's nothing too demanding, and everything does fine. These have heaters and heat controllers, and with them all being on the same level, I still keep an eye on the temperature closely, but it all works out good. I'm all running off of one heat controller. Have it set at 78. It's running right now. It's at 77.2. And this 75 gallon tank is, yeah, both, I think, oh no, we still have one original Aquaneat light running. I had two original Aquaneat lights running. One of them gave up the ghost probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, and don't ask me why it's still there. Then I got two of the Barina. I use the actual Aquaneat, the one that quit working. I use it as a reflector. I have two of those 4-foot Barina lights underneath there, and then I have two. Oh no, I didn't. No, I'm wrong. Both the Aquaneat lights went out, and they're both still on there. But underneath this one is a 2-foot Aquaneat, and right there is another 2-foot Aquaneat. So that's how I replaced the second one. And that's what I did there. I forgot. This tank has no heater. It's just shrimp and bristlenose plecos. Red shrimp tank. Thousands and thousands of shrimp. Lots of plecos. And the filtration on this is an Aquaclear 110 with an ATI sponge, size 5 reticulated. Same sponges I've been using everywhere. Both of them have the size 5 sponge on the intake. Now, I realize that most people who do planted tanks don't like having lots of filtration, and it's not needed as badly, but I find when I add a whole bunch of filtration to a heavily planted tank, it does even better. Like, my shrimp do so much better than when I just have a little air-powered sponge filter going. I actually have a pump pumping water through media going through the shrimp, but you still have the thick, heavy planted tank. You get the best of both worlds. You got a good filter moving the water, creating good water movement, and you got the good media, lots of water flowing through it. You got water flow, keeping the sand and substrate relatively clean, so you don't just have pockets of gunk building up and causing problems. So I'm a big proponent of having real filters. I'm not saying a sponge filter with air ain't a real filter, because obviously it is, but my tanks do a whole lot better. My shrimp populations boom a whole lot better on tanks with power filters than they do with just a sponge filter. It goes with about everything else as well. That's the little hidden gem buried in the middle of this long, boring video. And down here we've got I think that's an Aqueon 20 or 30 on this little 20 long, where I'm breeding some panda geckos. And this one actually has, this is a mess down here. This one has a heat controller as well, and this tank on the floor. This heater probably isn't going to last very long because it works its butt off, keeping this little 20 long 78 degrees. But it works. Man, the little pandas, they're only like 2 weeks old and they're growing fast. They're doing good. Alright. So that is, so I had 27 tanks. That is 1, 10, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So then that means we got 2 left. Over here, a 29 gallon. And I just tried a new idea in here. This is, again, an Aquaneat light. This is my newest tank, so this light's only probably 6 months. This tank's probably about 6 months old. Heat controller. And this is, I believe, a AquaClear 50. And then my new little idea that I've tried, I did have a sponge wedged in here to keep this spout water, because it was going straight down and messing up all these fine-leaved pearlweed plants I'm trying to grow a wall with. Just smashing down the ones in the middle. So I did have a sponge, but that was just absorbing everything, and I wasn't getting very good flow, and the water is still cloudy a little bit. And so this is actually one of them V things out of the guppy fry trap. So I took one of my spare grid V things for the fry trap, put it up in there, wedge it up in there on the back of the filter, and so now it comes down, hits that, and goes straight out. Because before it was just knocking down those middle ones, those middle pearlweeds, and now it comes out and shoots down, hits the glass here, and then better water flow. Everything does better. Don't mess up the plants I'm trying to grow. And so it's a pretty good idea. Alright, one more tank to go. So before I get to the last tank, I want to talk about this thing. It's pretty awesome. It's a space heater you can hang on your wall, and it's even Wi-Fi compatible, has an app and everything. I've never done that. I just kind of come in here and change it with the dial. But so then I have this thing keeping it. This is my utility room with the washer and dryer, and messy room. But yeah, this thing does really, really good. And so I can't put it back there because I don't have enough electricity because of all the heaters and the lights. And that's a 30 amp circuit back there, but it's not enough to run this. So I put it in here on the utility room circuit. I got this fan on high, so this infrared heater blows this heat out, and the fan shoots it over there, and there's the fish room. I also have this fan, entryway fan. It's a pretty neat little thing. It moves a little bit of air, so the hot air gathers up in here, and this little thing helps push the air out into the, watching an old aquarium co-op stream. It's like, I'm gonna make a video. I just sit here and was just sitting here being worthless all day on it. I was trying to get my tooth pulled, my wisdom tooth pulled. It's giving me real bad problems, and they're like, oh, it's infected, you got to be on antibiotics, come back in a week and then we'll pull it. So that's what happened today. Alright, back to that last tank. There's my youngest child, and a cat I don't like.
Oh, you guys could go.
Alright, the Green Jade shrimp tank. This just has a Aqueon Pro heater in it for a heater. There's no heat controller, but it's only set at like 72 degrees. And the reason I have a heater in this shrimp tank is because right here by the front door. And then here it's the same as the other 75. The biggest Aqueon and an AquaClear 110. And they both have the ATI size 5 reticulated sponges on them on the intake, so you're getting a sponge filter and a hang-on back. And there are 5 long thin super red plecos in here, but they're still growing up. They're not quite adults yet. So pretty much this is like the most heavily over-filtered shrimp tank there is. But the shrimp, like I said earlier, the shrimp really do appreciate the extra good filtration, and their numbers and quality speak for themselves. So that's fish room tour focusing on the equipment. Oh, and the lights on here. So this is just any cheap light that comes with, what do they call them, T8s. One T8 bulb in here. And this used to have two T8, is a 4-foot shop light. And I have the ballast went out on it. And so what I've done is I got two of them Barina lights using the shop light reflector. So that works out really good. So that's the main light. You can see the back of the tank's a lot brighter than the front. Shrimpies. Okay. That's about it, guys. Thank y'all for watching. Bye.